How's it going, YouTube? Welcome back to another video on the channel, and today we have, after a weekend-long break that I really had to take, we have the recap of day one of YCS Dortmund. Before we begin, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and YCS Dortmund, let me play this. Why is it paused? Overall, really interesting second event into Ishizu format. I'm personally pretty enjoying this. I think it was a pretty good day one. I'm gonna go through this hopefully less than 10 minutes because day two is already started. I woke up from day one, and since this is EU time, round one of day two is already happening in the background as I'm recording this. So a few pointers just like overall for the event. I think the EU commentators are awesome, doing an awesome job. Contrary to what I thought about the North American ones, unfortunately. Really lively, very interesting, and a lot more knowledgeable, I feel like. And here you can also see the breakdown of the deck breakdown, and you can see Ishizu tier limits at 28%, which for overall, like, the event is not that much. We got Sprite, Flunderies, obviously, these are the top three. And then 5% for Banded Despia, let's go. People just like Despia, it's a deck that people enjoy playing. But unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see it in the top tables. Draco Slayer has been shown, Exorcister has been shown, but again, Ishizu tier limits at 28% is still not tier 0, but I think it will shift towards the top tables and top 64, with the Ishizu tier limits being very highly represented. Another interesting thing that they've done now between matches, there was a really long time between matches today. I don't even know how that works in reality in the event, but somehow they make it happen. I don't really know. But Time Wizard duels between the commentators, which was very entertaining. And I think the deck of the day would definitely be Medalce. I don't know if people saw this coming, but Medalce is actually an Earth Fairy deck, which is hilarious. Can play and search for Necro Valley, and doesn't really lose to Ishizu tier limits at all, because everything that the deck does is shuffling monsters back to the deck from the graveyard. So it's actually funny that people came up with that solution and sort of went with it. We saw 2 feature matches of Medalce players. It was pretty cool, pretty interesting. Let's jump into the rounds. We're gonna go pretty quickly over that. We got Chris LeBlanc, former YCS champion from 2 YCSs ago, playing Ishizu tier in the mirror in round 1. We already see a Dark Law on the field. Very good deck choice, obviously. You can see the 5 banished cards from Dennis here. But really interesting, what Chris does now is actually, like, he did something really awkward with the elf and the blue. He summoned the blue from the deck with the gigantic, didn't activate the effect, climbed up to elf, then summoned the elf, and he did all of that basically to get a Smashers that isn't even live. He goes on to win the match regardless, but here we see another interesting interaction here. So Dennis activates Talents, which is pretty obvious that he's going to take the Dark Law. So what Chris does here, and this I thought was insanely big brain, Mudora shuffling back a tier name, so add Resolution, you can actually use the field spell to pop the Dark Law that he takes. So this is exactly what he does. He pops it with a field spell, and that's basically it. It was extremely free. And again, this event shows Mudora and Keldo being the best cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! At the moment. Then we have round 2. We have Draco Slayer versus Exorcister. Not going to dive too much into that. These decks aren't really, like, interesting per se, but I think, like, Fenrir at the moment, expensive chase card from a very good set, but not seeing play in any deck. Maybe Draco Slayers and Naturia. I don't think anybody's playing it. Ishizu tier is not playing it, so it might actually cause, like, a big drop in the price here, but he is putting in some work in these matches. And again, I don't really like what these decks do, but the Raigeki on the Baguska pass, it's actually hilariously funny. Yeah, so something that we saw 2 or 3 times today on feature was draws. matches ending in a draw, which is, I don't think that's very good for the game. I think it will be on the players to actually close out games better, but it still was not really entertaining to see. We did see a Bestial Thunder Dragon deck here, but against the Ishizu Mirror, against the Ishizu Tier Elements, I'm used to saying Mirror, but ending up in a draw, unfortunately. Then we have Dinkabui, our finalist from YCS Utrecht, where Josh won, playing Runic Ishizu Naturia. So he goes on to win this match. He plays with his branded Tier Elements. This player, he had a rough time during this this feature match. He didn't he couldn't really keep up. But Dinka said that the Ishizu Naturia board wasn't powerful enough, so he just added the Runic engine, and I think it kind of makes sense. The deck does really interesting stuff. Obviously, can get to Barone, to Chengying, and of course plays the Shufflers, negates, can bring up Naturia Beast, which against the right deck is devastating. And we see a misplay here from Romain, who summons the Shirin in defense position. Dinka goes on to combo and brings out a Camellia and a Sunflower, and now he has a free negate and mill 2, while Romain can't attack it because he summoned it in defense. So if he summons it in attack position, he beats over and plays actually a little bit better. But I think this was like outclassed, like the branded stuff. As much as I love branded, just being completely outclassed by anything that has Ishizu in the name. Exchange of the Spirit and the effect. Again, we see Dinka closing here the game with a huge Chengying, and Chengying works so wonderfully together with the Ishizu cards because you have the Shufflers that banish, so you get a banish, shuffle back, then another banish from the graveyard in the field with Chengying, which is very strong. So the synergy is definitely there. Wait, 95% of you are not subscribed? Come on, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a thumbs up on the video and subscribe if you are new for more awesome content. Here we see our first, this is round 5, we see our first Madolche matchup of the day. We see Madolche versus Ishizu Tier Elements. Yugen here really plays multi, baits out the Gamma very early and goes on to play, brings out the Madolche Butlerusk, something like that. This card, when it's normal summoned, it can search for any field spell. So he just combos off and just goes into Necro Valley. But unfortunately, Multi here just goes up to Zeus, and since Yugen didn't search for a Madolche Promenade, which he could have, but he didn't really play through with, he just ends up Zeusing the board, taking out the Necro Valley, and Multi eventually takes it in time. Takes it actually 2-0. So pretty impressive. Seeing what the Madolche cards can do, but doesn't really end up, going the distance, I think. Then we have round 6. We have Spellbook Bestial versus Madolche. Not going to go too much into that. I don't think that's very relevant or interesting, but another game that ends in a draw. Time management has been rough here. Then look at this. I think this might have been, like, besides round 1, maybe the most entertaining match to watch in the whole day 1. We got Blackwings versus Ishizu Tier. We see a Dragoon on the field, but what I wanted to showcase here is that this is Batuhan's first turn. He won the die roll, and you can see Matthew playing Ishizu Tier with going to have 3 monsters on the board on his turn 0. So just the power of Ishizu Tier Elements, pretty insane. We have so yeah, Blackwings, is that a thing? Not really, but it was pretty close. It was actually pretty close. I'm betting that Dragoon and, like, not knowing what the cards do actually hurt some players. We see a normal summon Cyberstein here. You're supposed to mill that, but I guess he opens it. And you can see, like, he has 5 monsters. 3 of them was summoned on his turn 0. So he opened Havanus, Magnamut, and Kelbeck going second, losing the die roll. So he opened insane and still almost lost it. He also got a game loss for using 2 tier limits Shiren on the same turn and not using Merly and Havinus at all. So just like doubling up. This is why you have to write down your tier limits effects. In round 8, we have Federico versus Christopher. We have Draco Slayer versus Ishizu tier limits. And honestly here, Federico playing with his food takes it, I believe, 2-0. And I think what's cool about this is, cool, you know, pretty disruptive, but we have Magispector Pegasus, the new ultra rare Magispector Pendulum monster from Darkwing Blast. Again, being able to search any field spell. And of course, the choice here is Necro Valley. So, yeah, Necro Valley putting up some work here. We see Federico takes game 1. Game 2, poor Christopher gets shifted out of his mind. All of these are going to get banished. And he actually ends up setting a There Can Be Only One. And look at this. We have 5 types of monsters. I believe we have here a machine, a worm, spellcaster, warrior, and psychic. And he just attacks with Fenrir, banishes the Mudora, and the handshake just extends the hand because it's just too much. Yeah, this was insane. This was a great showing of what Draco Slayer can actually do. For our last feature match, we have Fluendaries versus Pride. Feels a bit nostalgic, but these are the tier 1 decks besides Ishizu tier elements. I don't like Fluendaries. I don't like it. I don't like watching it. This player was also like, no hate personally, but not a very good player. Didn't really know what the cards do. Ends up taking it because Fluendaries is Fluendaries. This is why it's actually up there with the Ishizu tier elements and the Sprite, because it's so disruptive, can play so much garbage in the main deck that it just ends up stealing games. But yeah, this has been day 1, 9 pretty entertaining matches. I really like the European production, much better than the NA production. But yeah, Fluendaries player takes it. Yeah, I hope you enjoy. We'll be back, of course, tomorrow with the recap of day 2 and, of course, the finals. We'll see if Ishizu tier elements takes it home again. Leave a thumbs up on the video, subscribe if you are new. We got videos all week long now that I took a weekend off to just chill and relax. And I love you guys so much. Let's get that 2,000 subscribers this week. See you in the next one. Peace.